Those of you who had a friends with benefits situation end really badly. What happened? What is your relationship with them like now? What's the one rule or boundary that made it work or caused it to fail? Story 1. I wouldn't say it ended awfully, but it didn't end well. Basically, we were really good friends before the benefits started. Then we had the friends with benefits phase for a few months, and she started to want something more and I didn't reciprocate those feelings. We are in the same friendship group, so would still see each other regularly, but didn't talk much for a bit. And a few months down the line, I introduced a new girlfriend to the group. Basically, the girls of the group never wanted to give my new girlfriend a chance. And when I told her why, I thought, that was I guess she never really felt comfortable around them. And a while later, we broke up with me, still seeing the person I had been friends with. Benefits with definitely a factor, even though there was nothing for my girlfriend to worry about. Nowadays, I still occasionally see my old friends with benefits person, but only at bigger gatherings and we don't really speak. So I guess it ruined one relationship and one friendship. Maybe it did end awfully after all. Before we continue, do us a quick favor, smash that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Story 2. My personal rule is to only enter a FWB situation with someone I know I wouldn't want to pursue a relationship with in the first place due to some clear deal breakers. My last FWB was a great person, super fun to hang out with, and we got along very well. We both wanted something casual at the moment, but when it came to long-term relationships, they'd expressed interest in E&M ethical non-monogamy. I have big respect to the people that are into E&M, but it's a hard no for me, so I was able to shut down any instinctual feelings by reminding myself that I'd likely be miserable in a relationship with this person. Now, if I was FWB with someone that was completely my type, with no deal breakers, that sounds like a recipe for misery, as I accept someone who can catch feelings pretty quickly for the right people. In that case, set major boundaries and prioritize your own needs, or just cease the FWB thing entirely. Story 3. We were friends with benefits for about a year and a half. It was a little messy, kind of bad situation. He had a long-distance girlfriend at the time, and eventually I got a boyfriend, and we stopped friendings for about a month. I found my way back to him, because to me there was always something different about him. We clicked in a way I never clicked with anyone else, but at the time I told myself it could never be more because he was a cheater, evidently so was I. I didn't want to like him yet. I progressively found myself having more feelings. I was never really sure he felt the same way until he started making comments like, "I would date you in a heartbeat. I wonder if we would be good for each other," etc. But he still had the girlfriend. Eventually summertime came around, and we went back to our respective hometowns, but we still kept in contact and would talk regularly almost every week. Towards the end of the summer, he and his girlfriend broke up for other reasons, and I was the first person he told. After that, we just never stopped talking. About 2 months later, he told me he loved me, and I absolutely felt the same way. Here we are, over a year later, living together with a cat we recently adopted, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Story 3. Ongoing to be determined. It's been just about a year now, and I actually never initially intended it to be a FWB situation. It was supposed to be a one-time, maybe two-time thing, and then it just kept happening. He was a total stranger the first time, and he's still mostly a total stranger, but a stranger that I know random intimate details about lol. In the past month or so, I've kind of accepted, I've caught feelings. I kind of think if I admitted it, he might be willing to give it a shot, but I'd kind of rather die than admit that. I mean, if I really thought there was a chance we'd work, maybe. But he's kind of the opposite of my type. That's how I justified the relationship to begin with. Well, at least I'll never catch feelings for him. Turns out, if you sleep with anyone for a year, you start to feel a little emotionally attached, regardless of how you actually feel about them as a person. I date around a little aside from him, and I recently met a guy I'm kind of into, so I'm thinking the last time I met up with him might be my last. I debated warning him that before I left, but I thought that might be weird, so I guess we'll never know if the feelings are reciprocated. Story 4. First time it ended badly. She wanted to become serious and I didn't. We both handled it badly. I told her exactly where I stood and tried to end it several times on those grounds. But I was a heavy drinker back then, and we shared several circles of friends, so I would often go out and find myself waking up at her place. It was shitty of me because even when drunk, I should have controlled myself better. She was quite manipulative though, and at that time she was actively seeking me out when I was drunk to take me home in order to prolong the relationships. I finally ended it after going round to her place to talk it out. After I'd avoided her for maybe a month or so, we'd been arguing and sometimes banging whenever we saw each other before that month hiatus, and she wanted to repair our friendship apparently. We had a drink, and I noticed in hindsight that she was constantly topping up my wine. When the bottles were empty, she even gave me the end of her glass. She made a very insistent move at the end of the night, and we slept together, but even during it, I was only thinking about getting out, realizing that she'd planned it all along. It was the slap in the face I needed to cut her off completely. She's hated me quite violently at the start, screaming at me in bars, etc. The second FWB, I had turned into a 5-year relationship. Funny how these things go. Story 5. I've had two. The first one was my very best friend, Fuff. We messed around a lot, and I also told her everything and did everything with her, and loved shaking the bed with her. She actually just moved to California though, and I miss her a whole lot. The second is my fiance's ex-boyfriend. We're polyamorous. Originally we were all three dating each other, but I wasn't really romantically attracted to him. That said, he gives the best tongue action I've ever had, and we still do stuff around a lot. We're also all living together, so I'm not sure if you can really call him a FWB, but that's the label I use, because we're everything but romantically involved. At it there was actually a third, more or less. My fiance and I had a triple thread session with a really good guy friend of mine. He had a huge freaking dong, and sharing it with her was awesome, but it ended up being really awkward because I had never thought of him as physically attractive, and it ended with me safe wording out and him sleeping on the couch and being gone when we woke up. We haven't really talked much since, and it sucks because I always figured he'd be my best man and all. Story 6. Throw away because I've been in this situation. Banding with a girl from work after some work drinks, spoke about it the next morning, said we'd forget it happened and not tell anyone. We were good friends, so figured it'd be fine. Fast forward a month or so and it happened again. And then one more time a couple of months later. We were clear with each other that it was only going to be casual. It was helped by the fact she had just got out of a long-distance relationship and was looking to go traveling, so we both knew it wouldn't be serious. I must admit though, I definitely caught some feelings, and it was hard to see her most days and act like nothing bad happened. We maintained a really good friendship and good working relationship, so there was no awkwardness in the office, but personally it took its toll on me because I always had a bit of a what-if feeling about her. Now I've since moved from that job, and she's the other side of the world, so no harm done really, but there were some times for me where it was difficult, and I'm not sure I would have been able to do it if I didn't know she was leaving, and if we weren't open with each other about it. I'd say close to 90% of the time someone catches feelings. Maybe it'll be both of you and you'll love happily ever after. Maybe it'll be the other person and they'll react badly, and I'll be awkward if the feelings and reciprocated. All I'd say is there needs to be a lot of trust and confidence that it won't get messy for either of you. Feelings change, and so do jobs. So you can always move on afterwards, but it can be hard in the moment. My best advice would be, go with your gut and be open and honest with the other person. It can be fun, and life is short, so you should take risks like this, but only if it's sensible to do so. Story 7. Ended bad. I just wanted to get physical, and that's it. But he was troubled and on drugs. I thought we were close friends, and we were being casual, so I trusted him. Turns out he was just talking nonsense about me to my friend group and fought up my friendships. Being a girl, so far everyone who I've been a friend with benefits, or just causally physical with always sucks, like they still try and play games even though all I want is to fool around. Story 8. Not sure if mine is even over yet. We go out most Saturday nights, and one week I fell sick. She was texting me saying she hopes I feel better, and hopefully she'll see me next week. I think fine. Next Friday came along and I sent her a text saying, I'm back. We had a brief exchange and left it at that. The following night I'm out and I'm just assuming she'll be out as well. Her sister and my cousin, who initially introduced us and somewhat encouraged all this from start, come in and tell me she's gone off the rails. taking drugs, back with her drug dealer ex, shit like that. I felt both pissed off and kinda embarrassed by the news. We weren't exclusive so I can't really go mad. I leave it off and decided that was pretty much that in regards to her. We've mutual friends, so I knew I'd see her at some stage. Anyway, I was pissed off mostly because she never even contacted me saying she'd gotten back with her ex. A few days pass and she texts me saying she's a lot going on and that she hasn't got back with the ex, kinda half apologizing and hoping that we could still be friends, and she doesn't want any awkwardness between us. I felt the text sent a kind of a mixed message with the hoping to be friends thing, but the mention of not getting back with the ex got me thinking she wouldn't mind continuing where we left off. We texted most of that day, and shit seemed to go back to pretty much normal. She's coming out again with our group Sunday night, and it will be awkward when she comes over. I'm fully expecting things to come to a head later that night, with someone on one conversation to see what's happening. My mate pretty much told me last night that I shouldn't go back to banging her, given what's happened despite him thinking there's something there. It's an awkward situation given the mutual friends thing, and I don't want anyone having to feel like they couldn't come out or be around the same people on account of us. I'll know next weekend what's happening with all this, because when the drink is flowing we could easily end up in bed again with each other. That can't keep going on either though. Story 9. It started when he asked me out, and I found out he was heartbroken, and I was too. So it ended as a casual thing. We didn't speak for months one time, because I got upset with him over something he discussed with other people about our relationship. Before he leaves to deployment, he reaches out to me and we had 2 more encounters before he left. We spoke while he was on deployment, sometimes fooling around in FaceTime and sending each other pictures. We were good friends, I thought, until I realized I caught feelings. I never said anything because I just thought my feelings were just of list, and they were. One day he blocks me on Snapchat for 24 hours and then adds me back. This to me was very suspicious, as if he was hiding me from someone. Now a little background before he left deployment. We were very open about talking about people we wanted to date. I wasn't looking to date anyone, so that was never an issue. Now I messaged him about it, and he tells me it's nothing to worry about. I tell him that if he is with someone, then he should tell me and we can just end things. I don't like drama, or crazy girlfriend, or even feelings like I'm some pawn in a 3-way situation. Not gonna happen. He continued to tell me to calm down and that there's nothing to worry about. I just said we can be regular friends and we didn't have to do this anymore. He then tells me, wow, whatever, if that's what you want. I didn't reply. He then unadds me and deletes our thread, basically being spiteful towards me, and it hurt a bit because I thought we at least could be friends. But he chose to be immature about it. Story 10. I have been in a FWB situation on and off for 6 years. I still see him today. When we first started getting under the sheets, we became extremely close intimately. I was spending the night at his house 5 to 6 times a week. Then I saw him at a Halloween party with another girl, and it made me so mad because I thought we were getting close. I stopped being too emotionally attached. I dated and met a man and had a baby. He would still hit me up while I was pregnant, telling me he missed me. We still managed to see each other here and there. He would get a girlfriend and disappear, but once his relationships fizzled, we would get back to messing around. I know it is totally fit up. We have been seeing each other again regularly, and I'm not sure how much longer I can continue this, because I am not sure I can detach myself emotionally anymore. He is the best dong I have ever had, so it's hard to let him go. Story 11. I had a wonderful FWB who I reconnected with many years after we both left the same school. I got a friend request some years later. Turned out we worked near each other, and we met up for lunch in our respective lunch breaks. One thing led to another, and soon we were meeting regularly just to shag each other. This carried on for several months, possibly longer. Then she caught the feels and tearfully told me she couldn't do it anymore. I felt awful. As far as I was concerned, we were great friends who shagged each other, and we both knew what the score was. But she felt it had gone too far and didn't want to carry on because she knew she couldn't have me in the way she wanted. In hindsight, she handled it in the best way. We've remained friends. We don't see each other, but we're still on each other's Facebook. A few years later, we did randomly bump into each other at a concert. We were both with our partners at the time, and all 4 of us had a chat. My girlfriend didn't know her and had never met her, and even though the banter was nothing more than friendly and not a bit flirty, for some reason my girlfriend clocked immediately that we were ex-bangers. Story 12. People do have the wrong idea of what friends with benefits is. To me, it's someone I may know that I may fool around with or sleep with, but we don't have to do that. We can be perfectly fine and chill with each other also and not get intimate with. But I do agree, if you have feelings for that person, do not try that, because it just confuses things and it never ends well. A lot of people are too focused on the benefits part, skip over the friends part. I just got out of a years-long serious relationship and objectively think I need some time before I do that again. I just wouldn't trust my judgment right now about whether the urge to get more serious is coming from the right place. And am old enough that I don't want to jump headlong into something that lasts months or years but isn't right. But one, I am not terribly interested in celibacy. And two, I don't particularly want to be intimate with people I don't like and care for in at least some sense. Odds are high that in at least some scenarios this leads to some amount of disappointment on someone's part. But as long as you're being as honest as possible about where you're at, what are people supposed to do? It's definitely not a one-to-one substitute for a relationship that could be committed and permanent. But there's all sorts of reasons that might be off your table for some people, and I'm not sure we need to expect those people to just not seek affection or intimacy. I have to say, I'm trying hard to enjoy meeting new people almost completely separately from whether or not we eventually ever get to a place that is physical, and for me that's been sort of rewarding so far. Everyone different, of course, but thinking of every date as basically an opportunity to chat for 2 - 4 hours, and thinking of it as a success if I find the person interesting and enjoy the chatting has felt generally positive, and whatever else happens I take as it comes. Maybe I've historically taken the opposite approach, and I assure that repeated bouts of serious, committed, monogamous relationships that last like 5 years and terminate also leave the parties feeling quite bad. At the end of the day, results shy of happily ever after are just always hard on people. But you gotta be alive anyway. I mean, to be clear, I hope that after a decent amount of time and a lot of thoughtful reflection, I also someday find the second half. I'm confident I'm not ready for that tomorrow or next week, but I do hope it happens for me someday. Until then, you muddle through and try to be good to people. A person comments, friends with benefits is essentially let sets fool around but also both continue to look for better matches, stay on dating sites, etc. Let sets not settle for each other. The catching feelings bit happens when one person realizes they can't get any better, or they underestimated the person originally and now feel they're not just settling, and the nightmare situation occurs when the other person wants to continue looking. Story 13. Dated a girl for a couple of months, and while it was fun, neither of us thought it would go somewhere long-term. So we broke it off on friendly terms, but we both enjoyed the bedroom times, so we talked about it and made clear rules. No FWB if either of us is in a relationship. If one of us starts to catch feelings, then we need to stop the FWB shenanigans and tell the other person. It wouldn't be fair or nice to continue in that situation. For maybe a decade, we would be on again, off again FWB. One or both of us would be in a relationship, and we'd stop. Then neither of us would be, and we'd resume. The last time came when I was driving her back to her place once, and she told me she wanted to try dating again. I personally still didn't think we would work as an actual couple, so I told her that I think our situation only worked because neither of us thought it would go long-term. So we stopped the FWB. Since then, we've both gotten married and have had children. She moved to a different country last I heard. I enjoyed our time together, and I hope she looks back at it and feels the same. Story 14. We didn't really have rules. Basically, we just were like, we enjoy each other, but we don't want to date each other. Like, we were not very compatible as a couple or possible marriage, and we both realized that and decided to just have causal intimacy with each other until we found our compatible person. Everything went just as we said, planned it. Then she found her person and they started dating, and I never went around her again. I didn't want to start anything or possibly give her mixed feelings somehow, and now they're married and have kids, and I'm super happy for her. I also found my person around the same time too, and I'm also happily married, so it worked out really great for both of us. Story 15. The only time it worked out for me was with a young female banking executive who, according to her, didn't have the time or inclination for a romantic relationship, but she still needed to get laid occasionally. As a background, I had known her for several years, both professionally and as a member of civic clubs. During a club event, several of us went out to a sushi restaurant in a nearby town, and the young banking executive ended up back at my place. She was very upfront and laid out exactly what she was looking for and asked if I was agreeable. I didn't have much faith that it would work out, but to my surprise, it worked well for several years until she got a major promotion and was transferred. I think the reason it worked was because she was basically married to her career, and she never lost sight of her goal. As for me, I think I was as driven and goal-oriented in my career as she was in hers. Story 16. The only one I cut off, not on good terms, was like this. Bang time was good, but I'm not going to be disrespected. She was rude, but also a hypocrite. She would sometimes blow me off without canceling our scheduled meetups. Also, sometimes I'd hit her up, and if she wasn't feeling it, she'd just leave me on open and ignore. On the flip side, though, if she texted me and I didn't see it right away, she'd blow up my phone or call me until I answered. She would even do this late at night when I was sleeping. I told her about this, and she did it again, so I blocked her. Flip out of here with that thing. Story 17. Was in high school. She was besties with a couple of my friends, so we were friendly and ran in the same circles, but I was never as close to her as some of my friends. Anyway, we were both single. My senior year, both found each other attractive, had the occasional booty calls, and would typically find one another at the end of parties to spend the night. Other than the intimate stuff, it was like nothing changed. We were both on the same page about what we were doing. No drama. She was a year behind me in school. Phi of Will Be status was during my senior year, so I went off to college. Had fun with her a couple times when I came home during my freshman year of college and her senior year of college. She graduated and went to a different school. We lost touch. I think she's married now. If I ran into her today, it would be a, "Oh, hey, good to see you. How you doing?" situation. Nothing awkward. I will say that my experience was probably not the average. She was incredibly chill, easily the most bro girl I've ever been with, so we never had the situation you always hear about where one person catches feelings and the friendship gets ruined. Then there was my high school that I broke up with early senior year before the FWB mentioned above. The summer before college we started fooling around again, but we were both clear that we were about to go to college and weren't getting back together officially. So I guess you could call that FWB. She went to a college across the city from mine, so we continued to be casually intimate, occasionally our freshman year. Eventually, she got to the point where we had the talk. She said she couldn't keep doing it casually, basically asking me to commit. I didn't want to do that, so I agreed to give her her space. Pretty much lost all contact after that. My only regret is that we didn't maintain a normal friendship afterwards, but she made clear that she didn't think she could do that, so I backed off and let her do her thing. I didn't want to torture her and make her think we were going to be a thing again, because I had no intention for us to get back together officially. Story 18. I've had a few successful ones that worked perfectly. I followed certain rules that were placed before it started. You are there only to bang, no dates, no talks on the phone, no texting, just good open communicative horse riding. No sleepovers, no breakfast, and no cuddling. It worked flawlessly because we would be comfortable enough to explore all kinds of intimate things together, and at the same time not worry about anything that could get in the way. We knew why we were there and what needed to be accomplished. If one of us started seeing someone we were romantically interested in, then the FWB would be placed on hold till further notice. Great way to learn about communication, fantasies, and to try things that you would otherwise be too shy with someone you like and have feelings for. Story 19. Reading through these comments, I realize my situation is very rare, so I'll share. When I was 19, I was working as a ballet dancer in NYC. Everyone in the theater was dirt poor and we all lived together. I ended up becoming incredibly close to one of the female dancers. We bonded over our similar upbringings and how we were both working a super demanding job that we weren't actually passionate about but rather had been a bit forced into by our families. We started doing it pretty early on, mainly out of convenience, I think. It went on for almost a year. And right when I started to think that I might be catching feelings, she met her now husband of 10 years. We were never intimate again. It's been over 16 years and we are still the best of friends. I helped her husband write a song I performed for them for their first dance at their wedding. I even lived with them and their daughter for 8 months during COVID because we couldn't stand not seeing each other. Her husband and I go to a handful of Laker games together every season. Their daughter refers to me as an uncle. They're my family. I can definitely imagine a scenario where she and I ended up together, but at the end of the day, she is my dear friend first, and I just want her to be happy. I feel fortunate her husband understands our friendship and includes me in their lives. Story 20. When I was younger, my friend group consisted of 75% women. Most of them were FWBs and off over the years, and it was just another fun thing we did together. My social circle was men, is very relaxed about physical intimacy, and quite a few are either living polyamorously or are more or less invested in various fantasy scenes. Some of my friends have moved, so I see them less often, but we still have friends over for fun and get intimate, and everybody knows that our doors are always open if people are in the neighborhood. I have, of course, experienced FWBs that develop more romantic feelings, and sometimes we've explored that, and sometimes not. A more committed relationship outside of a bit of mature fun every once in a while requires a different set of emotional connections, compatibilities, and so you might enjoy fantastic intimate ride, but not be very compatible outside of the bedroom. I have only one really bad memory related to FWBs. A former FWB got a new boyfriend that was a complete a-hole and jealous of her past. Yep, complete moron, but no charges were brought against me as it was self-defense. And she recovered afterwards and we're still friends. She got married last year to a great guy and I was Toastmaster at their wedding, so happy ending all round, but not fun with the police investigation when it was going on. Story 21. My short time in one of these agreements, I learned that you have to make it all about banging. Show up, do you thing and leave. Don't hang out, don't text throughout the day, don't ask what you doing tonight or where you at. Just have an agreement of how much notice do you need. And don't leave me on red, answer no matter what, and whatever answer you give is cool, no arguments. If you step outside of this at all, I promise your jealousy and feelings will mess it up. If either one of you catch feelings for someone else, you have to let the other one know, then it's off until it's on again. Hanging out and talking makes it feel like a relationship. If you keep it to just banging, it feels like banging. Y'all talking about who you're hanging out with and where you're at will only lead to arguments and feeling like someone else is more important. Story 22. It's really just about complete honesty. The rules are easy enough. Mind you, I don't know, this counts as a simple FWB situation. It's certainly more, but I guess with less restrictions. I don't expect her to always be available, and she doesn't for me. We schedule times to get together sometime weeks ahead of time. We respect each other's time. No expectation of exclusivity by either of us. I know this is more for me though. I like to be free to have a fling when the opportunities arise. I don't think she is bothered with men most of the time, simply due to her personality and career. Partly why I appeal to her is I don't demand anything from her. She's successful and attractive in a way a lot of men feel intimidated by, or they feel like they should compete with her or for her attention. There's irony there for sure. When we do get the time to be together, the focus is on each other as much as we can. We both limit the degree to which we share our troubles or burdens of life. Not that we don't allow it, we just both agree that we are permission to forget about ourselves for a bit. This is more for her though. I know she enjoys being imperfect around me, which is all about expectations she has for herself. We don't have rules about catching feelings at all. Of course we like each other a lot. The agreement is we don't let those feelings allow us to believe we have any control over each other's lives in the way that a more traditional relationship might be expected to. Part of what makes it work as well is I am 12 years older than her. She's a busy career woman, so her time/energy for a full relationship is limited. I'm quite all right with just seeing her once or twice a month. I like having my own home and running it the way I want to. So does she, but we have been on vacations together, etc. And we don't pretend we don't love each other. There's just no control or ownership expected or given. If either of us has to just do our own thing for a while, well, all good. The time apart just makes me enjoy her more in all honesty. I don't really want to see anyone 24/7, 365, no matter how amazing they are anyway. Story 23. I had someone I was dating. She kept asking about being official, and in my head I thought, yeah, we should. But I imagined having her meet my parents and having kids together, etc. And I broke up with her very quickly after that. Not out of spite at all, more just I thought it wasn't fair to her to keep seeing her once I had realized. How did it break it off, if you may ask? I didn't do the "it's not you, it's me" BS. Actually, I did the opposite. I said, look, you do XYZ, you enjoy XYZ, and those are things I'm never going to approve of. And you said you just stopped doing those things. But that's changing yourself in a way I don't find is healthy. We just aren't compatible long term. I thought about doing the "it's not you, it's me" thing, but it felt disingenuous. There were things about her that were never going to be compatible, and she was so quick to say she would drop those things to be together, but that didn't sit right with me. I felt like either she wouldn't do it, and I'd be resentful, or she would do it, and she would be resentful. I think she was overall a good person, and let me say she was very attentive, but I think there was almost this smell of desperation. The other thing, I met her mom at one point, and she looked me up and down and said, yeah, that tracks. I was confused, and her mom said that her daughter has a type, and I'm it. I looked up her exes, and a few of them were different brr, a lot of them were like looking in the mirror, alarmingly so. Story 24. This will probably get buried under the other thousands of comments, but anyways, I couldn't stop myself from developing feelings towards her. Even though we met through Tinder, and from the first date I realized how busy she was in general, mostly with her career, down the line I completely forgot about this and we kept talking on a daily basis, kept going on dates, etc. We never really talked about our feelings or what we wanted, but in retrospect it was clear since the beginning that she didn't want anything serious and that I was never a priority for her. I had a lot of fun, but I figured that I'm not made for being a FWB. I like commitment and stability. My advice would be to talk things out as soon as you get the chance to. Set your intentions and draw the lines you need to. I guess if I would have done that from the first date, I wouldn't be in the position I am now, kind of grieving the loss, but in a very chill way. Still, I can't help but feel that I met the right person at the wrong time. She was smart, my friends really liked her, genuine. Also the way she broke things off with me and gave me the closure I needed without even asking for it, really confirmed to me that she is a good human being overall. Story 25. I've had two of those in my life. One of them is still regularly in my life, even 10 years after our physical relationship ended. We had been on and off for a long time, and finally he asked me to think about the things I really wanted in a partner, and we made a plan to talk about it. I wrote it all down, every little thing I was feeling, and had him read it. He said he needed some time to think about it all, and in the end he said he really wanted to be that person for me, but he just couldn't, that it was a him thing, not a me thing. We agreed to dial back our time spent together and just focused on evolving the friends part of our lives as they related to each other. I'm married to someone else now, but my friend is invited to every holiday and social gathering we throw. He and my husband are thick as thieves, and we enjoy each other's company still, just differently than we used to. The other one actually just messaged me last night. We catch up about every 6 months or so. He's married too, but find it a touch uncomfortable sometimes that he seems to like to reminisce about our relationship. I'm not sure if he is really over me even after 10 years or so, but we are otherwise still friendly. Story 26. First time was when I needed the physical intimacy and was afraid of proper relationships, so I brought this up very early when we went on our first date and the girl agreed. We kept our life separate and only met for the deed 3 or 4 times a week. I broke this off after a year because both of us started to feel like we were a couple. I still talk to this girl nowadays. The FWB time becomes a laughable thing to mention whenever we have a conversation. Also, we haven't touched each other since. Second time is now. She's a coworker, happily married with 2 kids. We've been playing with each other for over 4 months now. We first had banging session when we were on a company trip, both blackout drunk. After the incident, we went on with this until now. We don't text each other. We don't show intimate action at work. We don't go out when it's just the 2 of us. When we need to bang, a simple "need a nap" would be asked by me or her, and location would be a motel several miles away from our frequent places. I feel like this is borderline cheating, but we don't show any signs of emotion. She doesn't even let me touch her after we finished. Just two adults trying to lay off the load and get on with things. So I know this won't end very soon from now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.